following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Stevo Matt. It's a pleasure to welcome back here at the channel because there's a big match to look forward to. State the obvious, but it is the League Cup final versus Rangers at Hampden, 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, where the first trophy of this season will be dealt out. Hopefully it's one that we can win. We missed out last season. It's a great opportunity to right some wrongs and lay down a marker to our rivals, our resurgent rivals, and I'm pretty sure the Optimum performance is going to be needed because they have hit peak levels of, what would we say, optimism. So anyway, as always, joined by the annoyingly good-looking Josh, who's here, and it looks like he's got a Christmas jumper on as well. Yeah. So I hope that is the case. Festive spirit, green and white. How you doing, mate? You looking forward to this one?
Yeah, very much so. Doing well, feeling festive. All of this time of year for the football, a lot of games, a lot of big games for Celtic. So yeah, should be another one tomorrow. Very much looking forward to it. It's always interesting. The cup finals is always big talking points.
A cup final's always interesting, but it just adds an extra wee bit of spice whenever it is with rivals. And as I say, it's a chance for us to put down a marker. It's to reclaim back what some people would consider to be our trophy. Almost went out on a loan deal to Rangers the other year there, but looking to take that back and make it permanent for ourselves. But before we crack on and get in here, as always, welcome back. If you are a continued subscriber, thank you very much. If you're new, it takes you 2 seconds. It's 100% free. Hit that subscribe button, hit the wee bell icon. Every time we go live, you get notified. If you want to be a member, you can, like San Fran Celtic. It's a donation to the channel, $1.99. No additional content, just helps us put all this together. You can get us on X. We're on that new thing called Blue Sky. We're on TikTok. We're on Spotify. We're all over the place. Plenty of ways to connect with Celtic World Order, and hopefully you do so as well. So anyway, let's get down to business, Josh, because as we say, there's a cup final here. I think if you asked us maybe, 4 weeks ago, maybe even less than that, you would have said this was a foregone conclusion, maybe a cakewalk, a bit of a formality. But as we say, things have seemed to change. Have they really changed? But has that changed your perspective anymore? Is this cup final a wee bit harder than maybe some people are giving it credit for?
Yeah, I think it will be a difficult game for Celtic. Rangers have obviously revived themselves over the past couple of games, couple of weeks. They've been playing pretty well. Clement's made kind of tactical change where he's not playing with 2 sitting midfielders now. He's playing with 1, and they're giving the front line the freedom to kind of do what they want and complement each other. And they've brought Hadji back into the team. Igaman's come into form. Danilo's been reintroduced to the side as well, and they're playing well. They've got strong results together. But when you look at the league results, I think it's Dundee United, Kilmarnock, and St Johnstone. The other teams are 8th, 9th and 10th in the table. So I don't think we can take too much from those games. But what you can take something from regarding Rangers is the Spurs game during the week. Now, as poor as Spurs were, they're a Premier League side. They've got world-class players, international players who they've spent tens of millions of pounds on. And Rangers gave them a really good game. Fraser Forster terrorising them, perhaps, and making Rangers unfortunate not to win the game with a good few saves. So I think they have been resurgent over the past couple of weeks, Rangers, and like you say, if you asked me to talk about this game, I don't know, this time last month, I say it's a foregone conclusion. But they've had a mini revival. They've had it probably at the correct time leading up to this game. But if Celtic go out and win tomorrow, this mini Rangers revival then counts for absolutely nothing. So hopefully Celtic will be looking to kind of what they think will be putting Rangers back in their place.
I mean, that is true. As you say, there's no doubt that over the past couple of weeks that Rangers have, whether people like it or not, believe it to be a reflection of improvement or just another false dawn. As you say, they're stringing together. Bear in mind, this is a team who couldn't score for love nor money. In their last 5 results, one each with Spurs, 3-0, a 6-0, 1-0, and a 4-1 is away as well. Doing well in Europe, as they always seem to do, annoyingly. But they started scoring goals, and as you're rightly saying, they're starting to add in. They've got guys coming back. They've dropped in folk that are out from the cold, and maybe they're trying something a wee bit different. Is it the green shoots improvement for them? Well, we don't really know, because this is truly going to be the benchmark. As you say, Spurs are a Premier League team. Let's not belittle that performance, but at the same time, it wasn't peak level Spurs by any stretch of imagination. We look at their other favourable result. We look at their away win 4-1 against a team who pretty much had given up on that league. You could tell by the stands, you could tell by the vast wholesale changes inside. But again, you can only beat what's put in front of you, and they seem to be doing that. In terms of ourselves, Josh, we are doing well. We're winning games, but the performances don't seem to be, with the exception of Ross County. Let's take that one aside, but it's Ross County, so take it at face value. Aside from that, we've not found a level of consistency across the board in our games. And that, do you believe that's maybe a good time for Rangers to be getting Celtic? Or, as I say, does a game like Rangers take care of itself, or does it matter?
I think it always does take care of itself. The players will be up for it regardless. The manager will be up for it regardless. And they will give 110%. But at the same time, if you're Rangers, throughout this whole season so far, the way Celtic have played, this is probably the worst they've played all season, I would argue. And this is probably therefore the ideal time for Rangers to play Celtic. You look at the past couple of games, Zagreb during the week, 1 shot on target. Not a great performance, but you take a point and a clean sheet away from home in the Champions League. Then Hibs last weekend, not great, conceding a number of chances, and Kasper Schmeichel gets man of the match, even though you won 3-0. Pataudry was a hard slog. It comes up with a moment of magic towards the end of the game. So, yeah, like you say, not being at their fit and firing best. And I think the fixture schedule has had a bit of a toll on the team. 2 or 3 games a week is never easy for anyone. But I think what's good ahead of this game is that Celtic played the Tuesday. The flight leaving Zagreb was on the tarmac of the runway at 10 o'clock on Tuesday night. So they would get back in fine. Day rest on Wednesday. Then they had Thursday, Friday, Saturday for this game. Rangers would have had to have the recovery day on Friday, and they'll only have today, which is Saturday before the game. So Celtic will be in a very good position fitness-wise, and you might find that Rangers are a bit leggy. But at the same time, it is a cup final, like you say. I think form and everything goes out the window in a cup final. I look at the 2019 game, the one where Celtic won 1-0 with the Christopher Julian goal. Going into that match, Celtic were flying, beat Lazio home and away, scoring goals for fun, top of the table in the league, doing really, really well. And then they go into that final and Rangers batter them. Rangers totally dominate that game. And Julian, Celtic kind of win it, with that being their only real chance of the match, apart from the Mikey Johnston one. So form really does go out the window in these types of matches, and no more so when it is a cup final.
No, you make a good point there. And also, it was brought up to me as well. You remember the last time that we played Rangers when they had a short window of recovery after a European game, and it looked quite the opposite. They came out, they were fast, they were firing, they were right on top, they were on front foot. And it was actually ourselves that looked like we were walling a wee bit. I think, there's many variables to it. And as you say, you can take all these things with a pinch of salt and you can throw it out the window. How much will that game really have taken out of them? That is the big question. I think there's maybe some question marks as well. We'll go on to the players and things like that. They might have some injury issues that will maybe affect them and benefit ourselves. As I say, just to come back to our own forum here, this is a great opportunity. Put down a marker, maybe put people in their place if you want to look at it from that perspective. Get that first trophy in. And there's no doubt about it. Look, we are absolutely miles ahead in the league. We are cruising, right? So it would take a huge disaster for that to go wrong. Again, you don't take that for granted, but we're in such a good position there. I think that this is something that's tangible for Rangers. This is a real opportunity for them to clutch to something if they can get a result. So there's no doubt that they're going to be fully at it. And I actually think the game is going to be a lot tighter than people think. I always look at these games and I've never really felt that it was going to be a procession. It's been a long time since I've had that feeling about it. Yes, with the game we were 3-0 and it looked very easy, but even before that game, I didn't think that was going to be the case. With a cup final, 90 minutes plus stoppage, it is what it is. Somebody's got to win it. And I just feel that our forum recently, it needs to have a turn. There's no winter shutdown this point, and usually this is a key point for ourselves where we come out feeling rosy. Rangers are the ones who they maybe get a wee bit of momentum, they get the shutdown, and then they come back out and they fall apart. That's not going to be the case. So beyond winning this for obvious reasons, is it a great opportunity for us to kill momentum when the thing that normally kills it isn't going to be there?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, if Rangers lose tomorrow, then all the work and good results over the past couple of weeks really counts for nothing. Because they've been really building up to this match as their biggest of the campaign to date. So yeah, big chance to kill that momentum. But also springboard Celtic to go on and have a really good couple of weeks over the festive period. You know, you've got a lot of games there. Dundee United at Tannadice, you've got the Boxing Day game, a game on the 29th, then back at Ibrox, and then throughout January, I think there's 9 games in January, which is incredible.
Really congested.
The European games. So much football to be played, and a win tomorrow would only really springboard Celtic into that and put them in a really nice position with that first trophy in the bag. The league's going swimmingly at the minute. Scottish Cup begins next month in a decent position in Europe. So it would really, as Brendan Rodgers said yesterday, a win tomorrow would really cap off and put testament to Celtic's terrific start to the season. When you look at all kind of aspects, they've been doing really well. They've only lost 1 game in Dortmund, and that was where everything that could have went wrong did go wrong.
And I think we can forget that, isn't it? It's easy to forget that because performances haven't been fantastic at times. But maybe that is, it comes with the expectancy with you being so blitzing teams and being so transformed that it almost becomes a norm. Is it an expectancy? Maybe. But in the fullness of time, we look at these results and we've found ways to win. We've had our hammerings where we've been totally all over it. We've had our composed, mature performances where we've just had game management, and with a few ones where we've dug it out. And that's a good position to be in. Obviously, we stay the same every time. That first goal is going to be absolutely vital in this game. Rangers have a level of momentum. They're getting into it with optimism. Celtic will be getting into it fully confident in their own abilities. But at the same time, we have seen previously that if we can fall behind, occasionally it can wobble us. And that's just something that we really need to avoid.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you say, obviously Rangers come into it in a good place, but like Celtic do need to get the first goal. I think the first goal in these games is always massive. At Hampden as well, it's adding a wee different dynamic to it. Like you say, the pitch is going to be heavy and you've got a 50-50 split. That's going to be kind of weird for some of the players. Obviously, they played the cup final last year, but they're used to kind of Celtic Park, Ibrox, where there's next to no away fans. So having that 50-50 split, the atmosphere is going to be electric. So yeah, the players really need to start the game well. I think that's key. It'll be interesting to see though, because the game at Parkhead, Rangers pressed Celtic for the first 10-15 minutes and looked like the dominant side in that game until Celtic just broke through the press once, then have the offside goal chopped off, and the whole momentum of the game from that point shifted, and Celtic just dominated the rest of it and going to win 3-0. So the first goal, or even the first kind of sniff of, even if it's an offside goal or something, can be massive in these types of games, because it will be really tight. Like you say, I don't think it's going to be one where either side's going to be winning 2-3-0, 4-0, and it's going to be comfortable. It will be decided by one goal. It could even go all the way. And because it's like a Celtic Rangers Cup final, it's like it adds a totally different dynamic to it. So it's not as if it's Aberdeen in a cup final, or Hearts in a cup final. It's a Derby Cup final, and that adds something completely different.
So talking about the mood, we've seen the press conference before. The manager spoke. Some folk were saying it was arrogant. I just think he was giving out the facts. He was being very honest about where we are as a club, what we are doing, and it showed just a real belief in the process that we're going through as a club, as a whole, and that we're not bothering with other people. We're taking care of our own house, and everything else is irrelevant. We turn up, we do our game, we play the way we want to do, and it should take care of itself. And just for a question, because I know yourself with your other pastimes, if you will, your other vocation of being within the media and doing things, what is the actual, if you have any reading on what the genuine viewpoint is from the Rangers side to get into this game? We know where we are as Celtic fans, and we hear that, but is it all smoke and mirrors, all the chat that's coming out for the likes of come on? Now, we know that sometimes it comes away with some absolute crackers, and previously it was about, maybe we're better being financially the weaker side, we're against Spurs, against Celtic. and people were saying, is that mind games? You know, myself appeared on the Scottish Football Forums podcast with young Regan Stevenson. We were asked that question. I didn't quite believe it. I just thought that it was telling some home truths. If you get any sample of what it's actually, what's the sort of general feeling among the journos, if you will, and the Rangers minded?
I just think, for me, this is just my personal opinion, that Clement just doesn't get the unique dynamic within Scottish football, and he still doesn't get that. A couple of years down the line, or just over a year down the line since he's moved here, I think that when you say something like that in Scotland, in this small fishbowl in Glasgow, it's just the wrong thing to say. You cannot say that as a Rangers manager. Like, Rangers are one of the biggest clubs in this country, in this island in Britain. You cannot say that as the manager, that they're financially out of the league at Celtic, even if it's true, and we all know it's true. You just cannot say that ahead of a cup final, because it just would seem from the outside looking in that you're trying to cover your back in case you lose. So you cannot say that as the Rangers manager, simply. And I don't think that he understands that he can't say that. And that would ring true as well with a number of things that he said in the past. I can't spring any to mind quickly, but some of the one-liners he's had throughout his time have been baffling. I think after the game at Parkhead when Celtic won 3-0, he comes and talks about stats and shots on target after the game.
Yeah.
Like, you get away with that back in Belgium, perhaps, yes, but here in Scottish football, it's not going to work. It's not going to cut it. And I still just don't think he understands that. So that's kind of my take on the whole situation with him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one to say. You listen, you always look at the sort of press conference to get a gauge on the feeling around it. As I say, and I've spoke to some friends of our Rangers persuasion, and even 2 weeks ago, they still weren't feeling confident when they were getting decent results. And I think for whatever reason, one way or another, that result against Spurs the other night seems to have been planting the seed that Rangers might be back. Now, listen, I've said it, we've put it on our social media. I always like when Rangers are back before a big game, because I'd rather they were back than not back, because then the excuses can't come in if they get beat, or hopefully when they get beat in this game. But see, when you look at the sort of performances and the way the players are going and the mindset and the beliefs of the fans, is it another false dawn? Now, let's have a wee look, right? Do you think that when Rangers are getting these performances, I know we're talking about Rangers, we're going to get on to Celtic, we just want to think about that, because that's the opponents, we know where we're at. Do you think they're playing with a wee bit more freedom, as if every other game's a free hit? But when it comes to Celtic, we're still big bad Celtic. We're still that big bully that's in the shadows that comes out and says, right, come ahead. And it's a different proposition.
It could be, yeah, because psychologically, Celtic have the upper hand in these types of games, I feel. Especially with Brendan Rodgers at the helm. He's lost once to Rangers in his tenure as Celtic manager, and that was at Ibrox, and McGregor was playing left back and Mikey Johnson was playing up front. That's the only time he's ever lost to Rangers, and he's won every single game he's managed at Hampden. So that should give Celtic fans a lot of comfort going into this one. On Rangers, I think, yes, it is a bit of a psychological thing. When was the last time they beat Celtic in a meaningful game? That semi-final in 2022, with Postecoglou at the helm, went in extra time. Is that own goal from Starfelt in extra time? That's the last time Rangers beat Celtic in a meaningful game. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was the manager that day. Michael Beale's came and gone. Philippe Clement's been in the job over a year. It's got to be a psychological thing. And listen, by the law of averages, they're going to beat Celtic in a meaningful game at some point. Like, it's not going to, for the rest of time, Celtic are never going to avoid defeat to Rangers. It's going to happen at some point. And the fear just will be that, yes, Celtic are probably the better team, definitely better team, better players man for man, but who's the referee, John Beaton? You never know when a decision can just go against you in a cup final. Like, a red card can change the total dynamic of a game. A penalty kick in the dying embers when it's 0-0 can decide the cup. So you've got to bear these things in mind as well. Although I would say Celtic have the psychological advantage over Rangers and know how to win trophies and have made a better start to the season on the whole. There's things in games like this that can just go against you that you can't help. An injury to, say, Cal McGregor 5 minutes in, that you can't help. There's just so many factors you've got to take into consideration. What I would say in terms of the psychological thing is, as much as you have that, Celtic need to perform as well. Like, if you perform like you did on Tuesday night, you're going to be in for a tough afternoon and at risk of losing the game. So the performance level needs to step up.
See with the performances, Josh, do you think
Mhm.
that playing against Rangers, knowing what's at stake, knowing what they're likely to do,
Yeah.
that will sort of play into our hands a wee bit more? Now, people might look at the Hibs game that we played and say Hibs came at us and they shook us, but bear in mind, again, people might say an excuse, but Trusty and Scales at centre half, we've mixed that up for whatever reason. With very left-sided, heavy back four, changed things, one or two wee changes there, and I just think that was ring rust at the back. That was an unfamiliar partnership against, let's not forget, a Hibs team who, albeit were very down low in the league, walling at the bottom, they had a decent level, a couple of performances get into that game. So they were always going to start hot, but we managed to ride out the lightning, weather the storm, and get our foot on the ball. Do we seem to perform better when teams are actually coming at us? Now, we look at the Zagreb game, and I just felt that neither team really wanted to reach out and grab that game, take it with the scruff of the neck. It was as if they were happy to pass it amongst themselves when they had it and see what happened. The Bruges game, I look at that. Celtic were just flat, but equally, Bruges weren't blistering. They weren't tearing us apart. There wasn't a great level of speed in the game, a level of intensity that you're going to get out of this. So just with that, is that something that we can take positives from, knowing that when the tempo's high, when the intensity is high, Celtic tend to find and match that? Maybe we're harder push when teams are a bit more malaised.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Look at the Leipzig game. Kind of both teams going at it, going for the 3 points and coming out, and it opens the gaps. And the players Celtic have got, your Nicholas Kuhns, your Kyogos, your Daisy Maidas, that's when they're at their best, when they're running in behind. So yeah, I think definitely that can play to Celtic's advantage. Even like Aberdeen at Pittodrie, I felt Celtic were dominant in that game, dominating the ball, and they kind of eventually find the breakthrough, and it was a struggle. And that's because Aberdeen were more defensively minded that night. And
weather, I hate saying it, but it was a horrendous night for football.
It was terrific, yeah, definitely. So yeah, we've seen it several times where Celtic kind of struggled to break teams down. Ross County in the Highlands near the start of the season as well. So yeah, it can play into their hands. It's just going to be interesting to see how Clement goes about it, really, because he's been playing that lone number 6 over the past couple of games, and before he was playing 2 6s, 2 sitting midfielders. So who he goes with and what he does in the midfield tomorrow will be very telling. If he plays 1 6, they would suggest they're going for it.
Yeah.
If he plays 2, it's a bit more of a conservative approach.
Do you believe that he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't? That was certainly my opinion when I was asked on the Scottish football forums, where, look, I'm a Celtic fan. I expect Celtic to win this. I'm going to use the word expect. I expect Celtic to win this. I think Celtic will win this. So at that end, if Celtic win it, as predicted, is he damned if he tries to be expansive? If he tries to, we'll get on to some of the players, if he opts to play Haji, Brajami, Igaman, and he tries to be a bit more ambitious? Or, he plays, tries to settle down, go robust, go physical. Is it a free hit for Rangers? Yeah. Is this game a free hit, is what I'm getting at?
I think it perhaps is. Like, I think Clement's got no option but to go for it. Like, you look at the kind of games at Hampden in the final, the game at Celtic Park at the beginning of the season, he didn't really go for it. So it really, in the way Rangers are playing now, what's got them churning out results and doing well recently has been playing a more attacking brand of football and changing shape and playing with 2 strikers up front who are given a lot of freedom, bringing Haji back into the team. You've got Jefty going forward on the left-hand side. So that's been getting him results recently. So why would he change that going into a game against Celtic? Like you say, it could be a psychological thing where he thinks, oh no, Celtic, like these are a level above Rangers, so we have to be a bit more conservative. But on the other hand, you've been playing this style and made tweaks over the past couple of games, bringing other players in. That's been working, so why would you change it going into this one? And I don't think he will change it. I expect it to be an attacking lineup from Rangers that's going to go for it from the start, and that will, for Celtic, go one way or the other. It could shake Celtic, and it could work in like the 2019 final where Rangers battered Celtic that day, and it takes Christopher Julian's goal to win it. So it could either go that way, or it could go the way of they open up gaps and Celtic are able to exploit them easily and put in a terrific performance like they did in, say, the semi-final against Aberdeen. So it can go one or two ways, the style he sets up. But I think he's got no option but to go the attacking way.
So let's have a look at the teams. Let's get right into what everybody really wants to talk about. How Celtic are going to... We know how we're going to play. Celtic's philosophy has always been, this is what we're going to do. Let's see if you can handle it. Now, in terms of the selection here, there's going to be a couple of positions, I suppose, that people really want to discuss. Left back, central midfielder pairing, maybe even I'd go as far as to say the striking option. And obviously we've got the Johnson situation at right back. How are you feeling that we'll line up? It's going to be a stick on. It's going to be Trusty and Carter Vickers, no doubt about it. Taylor, he's been coming in for a wee bit of stick lately, not vintage. Is a game for Baye? Is this a game that's maybe too early for him from an attacking and defensive standpoint? And then, of course, Johnson wasn't extra time, wasn't seen in the videos training, but the manager said as much to say looks as if he's going to be ready. If Johnson is 70-80%, does he start?
Yeah, I think he does. I think Johnson plays. He'll probably have trained today. We don't see any pictures from today, but he'll probably have got more preparation today. So it's no doubt for me that Johnson's going to play, along with Carter Vickers and Trusty at the back. For me, it'd be Taylor at left back. He's coming in for a lot of undue criticism recently for me. Changed the game at Pittodrie really good. And then at Hibs at home last weekend, I thought going forward he was getting into the areas that he always gets into, and he done pretty well. Valle starting him in this game would be a massive call. The boy's been at the team for the past couple of games. He was miles off at Pittodrie in the first half, and that's why he was hooked at the break. So I wouldn't trust Valle tomorrow. Perhaps bringing on as a sub, half an hour, 20 minutes to go could be the call. So for me, the back four is Taylor, Trusty, Carter Vickers and Johnston, obviously Schmeichel between the sticks. Midfield's where the real debates lie.
Yeah,
I think it's non-negotiable that it's going to be McGregor and Bernardo. Obviously, Luke McCown's cup tied, so that gives
my heart sank.
No.
I was distraught.
Yeah, it's grim.
Total oversight.
So it's either going to be then alongside Bernardo McGregor, one of Hatate or Engels. Hatate was so poor during the week, and Engels made a decent difference when he came on. He was a world-class block away from setting up the winner for Adamida. So it's going to be one of them, and I think it's a 50-50 call. I genuinely don't know who I'd go with. I'm still undecided in my head.
So if we look at that, that's going to, again, as a cliche, but it's fact. These games are always won in that midfield. Who can control the play? Who can dictate? And, Cal McGregor, look at his Hampden record. Look at his record against Rangers. Always seems to make that happen. As you say, he's first name on the team sheet. Let's get real here. For me, yes, I agree. Bernardo is vital that he needs to be in there, because the biggest problem that we've spoke a wee bit about that up and down form. We've looked a wee bit lackluster in some previous games, and the main thing for me was, and again, it's just saying what we see with our eyes, Hatate and Engels have both been a bit lightweight. They've both been very, culpable for letting the ball go. And particularly when I look at Engels and Hatate, both of them are doing the same things, losing the ball under little to no pressure. Now, what do we know is going to happen here with Rangers? In case you forgot, in case you've not seen social media, Nico Raskin knows how to cook now. So he's the best player in the world. Apparently he's what Callum McGregor, we all think Callum McGregor is. It started again. He's back. Rangers are back. Tav's back. Write it down, right? So how do we deal with it? Because they've got this dynamic Belgian superstar in the centre here that throws himself about and is apparently the reincarnation of Rino Gattuso. So they're going to be physical. That's going to happen. They're probably going to have Connor Barron that looks like the sleepy lion out of the Wizard of Oz. He's going to be in there. We know what he does. So they're going to go for that physicality. Could they then play Diamandi as well? Who knows? But for me, one thing that are going to do is they're going to try and press us. They're going to try and get close to our midfielders and nullify them. That's why Bernardo has to come in for me. Bernardo can keep control of the ball inside the phone box.
Yeah.
Can Hatate? Can Engels? That's the big question. Do you go with Hatate, albeit has been disastrous lately? Let's not kid ourselves on. Just because he has that experience, because he knows the game. Or do you, and I'm going to say it, risk playing Engels? because the intensity of a game like this with the expectation, with maybe how he's feeling in his head, could it burn him up, mate?
Yeah, I think it's a big call for the manager. I think I've got trust in Brendan Rodgers to get it right. But Rio Hatate, like you say, has the experience in the derby games. He's scored in them several times, and he's a good player. And he's got the ability to unlock a defence and change a game and put in a standout performance. He's got that in his locker. You seen it against RB Leipzig, best player in the park that night for me. Scores a goal, and he was so good. But then on the other hand, you've got Arne Engels, so you pay the big price tag, £11 million, for him to play games like this and stand out in games like this. But for me, it'd probably be Hatate, would just edge it. And like you say, does the manager really want to throw in Arne Engels, who's untested in derby games, come on for the last 10 minutes of the one at the start of the season?
And the one thing he did do is he took a cover foul. He took one for the team.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that,
didn't really do much. So you've got a decision to make there, and Engels as well, with the criticism, the pressure, the undue criticism that's been on his shoulders recently, and undue pressure. Do you risk putting him in and then he's poor and you have to bring him off at half time or 60 minutes in? Do you risk that? I don't think the manager probably will, so it will be probably Hatate in that sense. And as much as, like you say, he's been poor lately, he's got the ability to turn it around like that, and you genuinely wouldn't be surprised if Hatate came into that game tomorrow and was man of the match and scored a goal and set one up.
And again, look at the Aberdeen game. He was similarly up and down prior to that. He was very much instrumental. Yeah, he had a wee bit. I thought him and Engels both in that match had a wee sort of slow start where they were, as I say, losing the ball and not being very assured. But they quickly grew into the game, and you saw the quality there. Again, another thing to think about, not that Ibrox is tiny or certainly Celtic Park's tiny, but that huge park, albeit with the weather and it might be a bit heavy, it's definitely going to help us. It's going to play into our hands. So for me, the midfield three is, as soon as I see that tomorrow, that is going to give me a picture of how we want to play this one out. For me, I definitely think on balance of what we've got, it has to be Hatate and then take it from there. But it's an opportunity for the likes of Hatate. What better game to really put in a shift and turn things around than this game? And of course, that becomes into the equation as well. Maeda and Kuhn, two of our brightest stars this season, mate, but it's not quite been happening at the moment. Got to feel like this is another one for them. But we're going to these guys that were looked to all season, that have been producing the goods, that just, I'm saying it again, playing Rangers. If you need anything more than that to get you up, a cup at stake, then come on.
Yeah, no, I think the thing with Maeda and Kuhn is they've dropped off past couple of games, but Celtic have such an over-reliance on them, simply down to the lack of quality and options to back them up. Like if you're bringing off, for example, Daisy Maeda tomorrow, you're bringing on James Forrest. Are you 100% comfortable? I think if you ask any fan, are you 100% comfortable with James Forrest coming on for the last half hour if Celtic are a goal down? I don't think many of them would say yes. So the issue there is the inherent over-reliance on Maeda and Kuhn. And wingers are never going to be consistent throughout a season. It's the nature of that position. You're never going to get a winger who's scoring an assist in every game. Never going to happen. So they're naturally going to have drop-offs, and we don't have anyone to supplement them and start a big game ahead of them, such as Dinamo Zagreb midweek. Because see, if Brendan Rodgers had another winger that he trusted as much as Maeda and Kuhn, they would have probably played during the week because they've got a game at the weekend.
Definitely.
But he doesn't, and it says a lot about Yang and Forrest that he doesn't play them. I think it was Forrest 3-4 years ago, then he might have played, but he's getting on in age now. So the issue is the over-reliance on Maeda and Kuhn for me. But because they've been off the boil the past couple of games, doesn't mean to say they're going to be off the boil this weekend. They will be right up for it. Daisy Maeda gives James Tavernier nightmares. We've seen it the past 3-4 derbies. He's constantly on him, constantly in and about him. So that'll be interesting. And Nicholas Kuhn, he was in form at the start of the season. First couple of games he'd scored leading into that Rangers game, but he's had since been on an incredible run, scoring in the semi-finals, scoring against Leipzig, been playing so well, changing games at the drop of a hat for Celtic. So tomorrow, whoever he's up against at left back, whether it's Yefde or Yilmaz, I think it'll probably be Yefde.
Do you think Rangers would go with, we've seen that both Yefde and Yilmaz in the side now, again, that's hyper-aggressive from them.
Yeah, I think it'll be just one of the left backs. for them tomorrow, and then it'll be a midfield three. Don't know who the midfield three will be, whether it's Raskan, Barron, Diamande, whether someone else comes in. I think it'll be that, maybe Hadji. And then you have the three forward players, which probably going to be Danilo, Igaman, and Hadji as the three forwards. And then you have the midfielders, Raskin, Barron, Diamande, say, and then left back will be one of Jeffrey or Yilmaz. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think.
In terms of up top for ourselves, there's been a great case for the physicality of Ida. Of course, we always tend, don't we, to go to this tried and tested and slip Kyogo back in. I think neither of our strikers really, if we're being totally honest, as you say, there's been a heavy dependency maybe on the output from their two wingers. Of course, we've been fortunate where we have been scoring all over the pitch, so it has been a shared load. It just happens that they've been the ones that have really been producing the goods in lieu of our strikers actually, doing their job as frequently as we'd maybe like. Have you seen enough? I mean, I thought, again, difficult game against Zagreb. We didn't really help ourselves out, but once again, largely Kyogo was anonymous in the match. We get Ida. He comes on. You know what you're getting from him. Drops deep. Is a bit more physical. But bearing in mind the way that Rangers play, would starting Ida be a misstep? Because it's probably going to be, I think, proper. He's the weakest link. I think Suter, who's their main centre back, he get injured, whether he plays or not, different story. But if it's someone like him or Balogun, two big guys, physical, it's probably not going. You're maybe not going to get the same level effect out of either, are you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see who the manager goes with. Like, they both, Kyogo and Ida, bring different kind of dynamics, and we both know what they bring, their abilities and their traits. For me, it would be Kyogo I would go with instead of Ida. I think you keep Ida as an impact sub. We've seen it in the final last year. I
think he's got that fear factor as well, just seeing him on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. He scored at Ibrox as well last season when you brought him on. So that's 2 times out of the last 3 derbies he's come off the bench and scored. So I'd keep him as an impact player and Kyogo to start the game. But Kyogo can't do it against Rangers. He scored against them beginning of the season and he was really good that day. He can always turn it on in these games. It seems like he's always up for these types of games, regardless of how he's played leading up to it. And that goes for the same for the whole of the team. Formula is out the window going into a cup final. And I still think, although the manager has said throughout the season, and he said when he does signed, we're not going to have a number one choice, I still think Kyogo's the first option, sorry. So I would be going with Kyogo tomorrow. And we know what he can do. He's got form in League Cup finals. The last 2 League Cup finals, he scored 4 goals, 2 against Hibs, 2 against Rangers. So he knows how to do it at Hampden in this competition.
Yeah. No, I think when you talk it through like that, it seems a wee bit more clearer in what we're probably going to go with. But as we know, Brendan Rodgers he's no shy he's no shy a wee curveball. And again, you've said about Forrest and would they want to bring them on? I wouldn't be beyond them to start them. I know it's a bold shout, but it's a Brendan Rodgers thing. We've seen it before. But let's have a wee look at the opposition. I know we spoke about the form and where they're at and all this and that. But as we said, they've got some changes afoot. Dessers, the much maligned Dessers, right? Disastrous Dessers. We're not really going to have to worry about laughing at that, are we? Because chances are it's going to be this guy, Igaman. Now, again, let's just look at him and does he put any level of fear into you? And I know folk will say, don't fear anybody. We don't. But he's something a wee bit different. 6 goals, 1 assist this season, 4 in the Europa League. 1 assist, 2 in the league. For a guy that in his past 6 games has scored as many goals, that's not that bad, is it?
Yeah,
and he's got that youthful ignorance, if you want to call it, where there's a space, I'm taking a shot. Give me the ball, fearless. And maybe that's something that Rangers have not had. They've had big wall-loon guys like Dessers who'll take forever to think about it. Whereas this guy will be like, I'm hitting it.
Yeah,
does that make things difficult for us?
He looks like a talented young player, Igaman. He came over from Morocco in the summer and it really took him a while to settle in. He didn't know the language, didn't really... Well, I think he was training on his own for a while, not even with the first team and his teammates. So it certainly took him a while to get into life at Rangers. And when he's played recently, past couple of games, he's really set the header alight. He looks good. He looks something different to what their front line has. He's physical. It looks like he has a bit of pace to burn, and he's a goal scoring threat, given by his numbers over the past couple of games. And he looks silky on the ball as well. And like you say, he'll just take the opportunity to shoot for a snapshot, and he'll get anywhere in the front line. Like, he can probably play off the left, off the right, or through the middle. So he looks like a good player. And he's something different to what Rangers have and what they've been used to recently. Like you say, the Nigerian nightmare, Cyril Dessers. He's the guy. It takes like 3 or 4 really good chances for him to get up and running. But Eagleman looks good. Done it in Europe during the week against Spurs, but they were playing an 18-year-old player out of position at centre back during the week. They had one senior centre back available. He scored 2 goals against Nice, don't get me wrong. That was an East side who were in disarray, scoring domestically against teams who are in the bottom of the Premiership. But like you say, you can only do that, and you can only score against what's in front of you, and that's what he's been doing. So, like the majority of his teammates who have been resurgent over the past couple of weeks, this is the first real test they're going to have. Like, that's the proof will be in the pudding for Eagleman tomorrow, whether he turns up and puts in a good performance or whether Carter Vickers and Trusty pocket him.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be the guy that's going to start this game. And as I says, taking it at face value, I don't fear any Rangers player, but I am wary that they might just try something different. And that's always been my opinion on it. Rangers need to stop trying to do what they've done before, which I call is trying to staunch a game, be robust, be physical, get up in faces. If Rangers want to try and turn around their fortunes against Celtic, they're going to have to do it by trying to play some football. And as I say, maybe just having these guys that have dropped in might give them that wee edge. And again, we've never played against it. So that gives us food for thought and more that we need to be on it. If people are pointing out there, I have full confidence in Carter Vickers and Trusty to take care of them. Absolutely. But it's a different option. Speaking of options and guys that they've been getting great success, you spoke about how we've been heavily dependent, or not necessarily dependent, but a lot of our output has came from our wingers. A lot of goals have came out from there. And another guy that splits opinion amongst them is Vladislav Cherny. Again, look at his numbers this season. 9 goals, 5 assists. And let's be honest, had he not been that team, regardless of how good or bad you think he is, they would have been in a lot worse position they are right now.
Yeah, I think he's a good player as well, Cherny. He's a bit like Bernardo in the sense that his close control is very, very good, and he's deceivingly quick for a winger. Like a baldy winger who looks about 35, even though he's like 27, 28, doesn't look like he'd be rapid, but he is quite quick, and he's good on the ball when he can score. He's a bit of a one-trick pony, in the sense that he always looks to cut inside in that left foot. A bit like Nicholas Kuhn, you could say.
Is he a bit like Kent? Somewhat?
Kent? I wouldn't say I could, in terms of like the pace and the goal-scoring threat, a wee bit, but Kent was kind of more off the left. Cherny's more off the right, obviously. They won't be able to afford them permanently. Clement was opening that last week in one of his recent press conferences, so that's a fact. But before kind of Eagleman rather took this baton as the kind of talisman for this Rangers team, it was Cherny. Like, see, when they were struggling and struggling to beat Dundee United and getting into the final, he was the man who was stepping up and scoring goals for them. And he looks like a humble guy as well. He's not, yet again, like the characters, the serial losers that they're used to. It looks like he has something kind of about him, similar to Eagleman. He's got that kind of fearlessness about him. So they two will be threats, and it will be interesting to see who goes in the middle of them. So it'll be probably Cherny on the right, and then Eagleman on the left or off the left, and then through the middle, perhaps could be Danilo or Dessers. It'll be one of the two, and then probably Hadji comes into midfield. And then you've got two, or Raskin will be the number 6, the super number 6. And then you'll have...
That's a lot of change, mate. If you think that's a lot of change, and this is where they're maybe throwing caution to wind, that's working for them at this moment in time. Of course it is, but you spoke about atmosphere and the 50-50 and all that kind of stuff. It's different to anything these guys will have experienced before. And even look at Danilo. Would it surprise you to see him in there again? 3 goals, 1 assist since he's managed to find his way back in. And again, just for numbers, Hadji's got 3 assists. I mean, how much are these guys actually improving Rangers, or as you say, is it just a case of they've yet to really properly have a stern test?
I think if you watch them in terms of performance level and the way they've played, they definitely have improved them and taken them up a notch. Like before, they were drawn at home to Dundee United, etc. Like they were playing so poorly, and it was dire to watch if you ask Rangers fans. But over the recent weeks and recent games, there has been an improvement in terms of performance level and the way the team are playing. They like watching their team now in terms of being more attacking, going at teams and being a bit more aggressive in the front final third. So there has been a tangible improvement in that sense. But have they played a decent team, a good team that knows how to win trophies, that is dominant in this fixture? No, they've not. They've played the 8th and 9th team in the Scottish Premiership. They've played a Nice team who are in disarray and a Spurs team who are in equal amounts of disarray, let's be honest, who are depleted. So this will be a real test for this Rangers team. It will be. The proof will be in the pudding of how they play. Like if they don't win tomorrow, they're really back to square one, Rangers, in terms of this kind of way they've been playing in this recent resurgence that they've had. They're back to square one. If they pick up a victory, though, it could really change their season and push them and springboard them on, similar to what it could do with Celtic, springboard them on a win tomorrow. So it'll just be interesting to see.
We've mentioned these guys here, Josh, just to touch on it. Obviously, our injury list, if you will, was sort of limited to question marks over Johnson, but it looks as if that he's going to be able to take part in some way or another. We saw Egerman going off holding his knee, and we saw Suter getting carted off there as well. Has there been any clarity over either of those two? Because they're probably likely ones that would be straight in.
Yeah, and probably some of the most important players as well. John Suter, I really, beginning of the season, I really didn't rate him. Really thought it was a bit Bambi on ice at times, and didn't think he was a good player. But he's improved. Played for Scotland. He's been one of Scotland's best players over the past 2 international breaks and done really, really well. So I've been very impressed by him. And if he's injured, it's a big boost for Celtic. And similar to Egerman, if he was to be out, it's another big boost. I don't know personally anything. I've not really been checking Clement's press conference yesterday or anything like that, but I'm sure we'll see the team will come out, the Rangers team at back at 2 tomorrow, and then we'll know.
I'm sure it'll be full of pearls of wisdom with whatever we get there. But yeah, it says like there's plenty to think about with regards to this. I think in terms of ourselves, we'll set up as we do. If we went through the team, I reckon what we said will pretty much be guaranteed to be on there. I'm very, very interested, to see how Rangers play this one, because I think that this really is at this moment in time the final roll of the dice for their manager. He's tried to be physical. He's tried a wee bit of attacking. He's tried the old hands, the tried and tested, failed. Does he try something new and fail? And then, as you says rightly, I think it extinguishes this mini resurgence, this wee flame of hope that they've got. And I think that will start to knock its way in to domestic forum, to be perfectly frank. And we can't remember, or can't forget just how important this game is. Forget getting a trophy, but it's like literally just over 2 weeks away, or 3 weeks to playing them in the league.
Yeah,
a result for us just makes that game look like a mountain to climb before a ball's been even kicked.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think what happens tomorrow has a really big impact on how the game at Ibrox in a couple of weeks is viewed. If Celtic win tomorrow, they will be fearful, depending on how the game unfolds. If Celtic win big tomorrow, Rangers will be fearful if Celtic come into Ibrox in the new year. And I think I've got a theory that if Celtic lose tomorrow and Rangers win, Celtic will go to Ibrox in the new year and win comfortably and improve a point, because they will have a point to prove at Ibrox if they lose tomorrow. So it will have a big impact on how things go there next month and how that game is viewed as a whole.
I want to put this one into you just for San Fran.
No, but if I was a Rangers fan, I would want it. I'll look at the.
Is Clement got enough credit in the bank with recent form?
This is the issue. So he probably doesn't. He's failed to beat Celtic. I don't even know how many games it is now. I'm losing count, to be honest, of the number of times he's failed to beat Celtic throughout his tenure so far. So in terms of that, there would be a decision to be made by, is it the CEO who starts his job on Monday morning? What time to start?
I know that
whatever it
seems
is.
convenient, doesn't it?
So maybe there is a decision to be made there if Rangers lose tomorrow, but I don't think they will. I think they gave him the new contract. I think they've got a lot of trust in him, whether that's due or not, I don't know. But they're sticking to this long-term plan of Clement being there, him developing the players that are there, the likes of Iga Man, who's been developed well over the past couple of months and evidently so on the pitch now. The likes of your Raskans, JFD at left back, developing these guys throughout his tenure as manager, a long-term plan that eventually will bring them back to where they want to be. So I don't think, based off one League Cup final tomorrow, he doesn't win. But even if they do win, he gets a big bit of credit in the bank that he very much needs, and probably the club needs as well. But if they don't, I don't think it will really have any impact on his future from the club's point of view. But from fans' point of view, I can just picture it. Rangers lose tomorrow, the stats come out from the Rangers fans in the comment sections on X saying Clement versus Celtic failed to beat them in over a year in charge, won one trophy, and that was when he was basically handed it because Celtic were already out the competition and he only had to beat the cannon fodder in the Scottish Premiership to win the League Cup last season. So you can see that unfolding, but I think the club will keep faith with him if they lose tomorrow.
Yeah, I think for me, I totally agree. I think that it's good for us, maybe bad for them. The recent form has bought some credit in the bank for Philippe Clement. And yes, they're trying new things. So you've all seen the meme. You've all seen the cycle that is Rangers. Now that at this, new players or old players come in, they're amazing. The next one's always get beat off Celtic, and then there's a step down. So I'm expecting. I'm not being arrogant. I am expecting. I just feel that we seem to have this, control over Rangers in this fixture. We've dominated it. At Hampden, we've got a fantastic record that we should be proud of and be, buoyed by the confidence of that as well. The manager speaks full of confidence. He knows exactly what he's wanting to do. I listen to that manager and it's a guy who's laser focused, and you hear it, whether it's no matter what player is spoken to and asked, complete clarity, complete focus. You look at the Rangers press conferences, you listen to the manager, and it sounds like they're finding for excuses or trying to temper expectations, and it's all very much let's hope. Ours is let's do, theirs is let's hope. And hope will only take you so far, particularly in a game like this, mate. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, definitely. Rangers and Clement just seem to, like you say, try to cover over the cracks or paper over the cracks rather. And yeah, completely agree with that comment. Brendan wants his cup back. He won this trophy 3 times out of 3 when he was in charge, first time around, and lost out in it last season. It was his first domestic loss of the campaign, losing to Kilmarnock to go out of the League Cup. So that is a massive motivation for him to win this trophy back for Celtic tomorrow.
No, definitely. And we'll be back to cover this after the event. But look, I always do it. I know you don't like it. Paddy's he's laid his cards out. Paddy's 4-0. He's 4-0 in the head. There's a couple of big results in there. The Street Shark said 4-1. I've seen some 5-0s in there as well. I just feel it's going to be a wee bit nip and tuck. That's maybe me I don't know what's going on with me. I always say it's going to be tight. I always give them a go. But I think we'll win. I'm going to go with 3-1. Yep, there it is. San Fran's backing me up. I'm going with 3-1. Yourself, come on. I know you don't do predictions. Talk to me. Give me some Joshy pearls of wisdom.
I think it'll be a very tight game. Like you say, it's a cup final. It's never easy, especially when it's against your biggest rivals. I think Celtic will edge it just with 1 or 2 goals. So I'll give you a 2-1 Celtic victory tomorrow.
Well, but there we go. Smell gloves. He's 2-1'd up as well. I agree with that. Look, it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm looking forward to it. 3:30 by a weird kick-off time, telly and all that. But we got it in a strong position. And that's the one thing that I'll say to close off. I think that regardless of the slight sticky patches that we've had, I do believe a lot of that is simply down to our own design. We've started slow. We've not had the intensity. As we say, a game like this, it's going to be 100 miles an hour straight for the start. Are we maybe going to have to ride the lightning for a wee bit? Absolutely. But I do think that we're in a good place, Josh. Starting 11, yes. Bench options, absolutely. We've got variation and real options that I don't feel that Rangers can go to. They look at their bench, there's one, maybe two players. It feels a wee bit thin. And as people are saying, I think their best opportunity in this game is going to be set pieces. They're playing an attacking brand of football, but I anticipate that it'll be what we're used to. Shelling balls in. As soon as they're 3/4 of the way up the pitch, out to the wing, shelling balls in. Maybe I'll be wrong here.
We'll just have to wait and see. That's it, innit? I think we've seen it in the past few derby games where it's been a bit of hoofball from Rangers, but since then they've kind of developed this more attacking style of play. So I'm very interested to see how they set up tomorrow and how they play. And it'll be telling in the first 10-15 minutes what Rangers team Celtic are facing.
Well, they've been wanting to attack lately. Rangers have been trying to be attractive on the eye. They've been trying to do wee passing movements a wee bit, dare I say it, similar to Celtic, but forget, that's what we do. And when we play teams that play football, by large, we've managed to have their, have their number. And I expect that to happen. So watch this space. I'm going to be going and saying that they'll do it for 10-15 minutes, as we've seen, start quick, but they'll leave those spaces open. And as we take advantage, cue the launch ball. But anyway, listen, Josh, thank you very much for taking the time out your day to join us. As I says, to everybody out there, thanks for watching us. Just make sure, if you haven't done it, it's completely free. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon. We'll be back tomorrow after the event to cover the game, myself and Paddy. Hopefully it's going to be a good result. I'm expecting, but we'll see how this one pans out. Can we put them back in their place? I'm going with aye. Get your bets on the now. Kyogo's going to score. There you go. I'm getting one away for free because he always scores, doesn't he? That's maybe a bit lazy. Bernardo's going to score. There you go. You'll get at least a good 3-1 on him. Till next time, take care of yourselves, and as always, hail, hail.